in the world and then hope that somebody wants to buy it. They have a solution that's looking for a problem. They build one of these, whatever it is, and I say, who wants to buy that? And they say, hopefully somebody. That's backwards. What you really need to do is solve a problem, which, by the way, I'm happy to say, the startups that we've been watching videos from are solving real problems. Solve a real problem in the world, a problem that you see. Most of the time in life, when we find a problem, and there's problems everywhere. For example, here, not only farming and agriculture, but infrastructure, you have a lot of issues with. But what do most people do when they see a problem? They go home and they complain. And they tell everybody, let's say you had to get something done, and you had an hour at lunch to do it, and it took 3 hours. You would go home and tell all your friends, you had a horrible day because it should have taken 1 hour to get this done, and it took 3 hours. These people don't know what they're doing. Everybody, maybe if you use Facebook, you go online and you change your status to irritated. But you don't do anything about it. You go back to your life. Entrepreneurs are the people that stop when they see a problem. Here's what I want you to do. Next time you hear yourself complaining about something, stop and say, is this my moment? Instead of complaining about it, is this my moment to do something? Solve a real problem. A value equation, I'm going to explain that in a minute. I'm going to give you an example of one for me. I was 20-something years old, and I had a job, but I'll be honest with you, I hated my job. My parents told me what your parents tell you. Just go get a job and get a good salary at a good company, which is important. And I had that, but I didn't have a good life because I went to work every day and I didn't like it. And I said, am I going to just spend my whole life not liking my work all day? In the United States, we say, thank God it's Friday. And we say that because we don't like being at work. Instead of, what I would love to say is, I can't wait for Monday. That's a lot better than thank God it's Friday. Why don't you find a job that you love doing? So I quit mine, which turned out to be a frightening decision at the time. But I went to the airport. I wanted to go talk to my mentor. And so I bought an airline ticket, and I didn't have a lot of money. And I went to the airport, and the line was really long to check in, because you had to check in and get a boarding card to get on a plane. And it took 1 hour. And by the time I got the boarding pass, I missed my flight. And I said to the person at the airline desk, I said, this is ridiculous. How come the lines are so long at the airport? And you know what she said? She said, next. And I said, well, I'm talking to you. And she said, next. And I stood there, and I was very frustrated. But I thought to myself, I can go home or complain, or I can do what I want you guys to do. The most successful entrepreneurs recognize the problem, and the first thing they ask is this a big problem that bothers everybody else? So you know what I did? I turned to the people in the airport, and I said out loud, am I the only one upset that it takes 1 hour standing in an airport line just to check in and get a boarding card? And everybody started groaning and making noises. I remember in school, they taught me to do market research, but all you really need to do is groaning research. If everybody else complains, it's probably a problem. That's step one. But step two is you have to see if there is a value equation. A value equation simply means this. Will a lot of people in the world pay you for the thing you want to do more than it costs you to do it? By the way, if the answer is no, then congratulations, you have a hobby, okay? A hobby is something we spend our own money to do. A business is something other people pay us to do. So I asked all these people, I said, it took an hour to get a boarding card. You stand in line, you show them your ID, and somebody hits print and prints out a boarding pass and hands it to you. I said, would anybody in this line, was talking to all these people, would anybody here give me $5 if I could give you a boarding card right now? Well, you know what happened? People started bidding. Somebody said $10. Somebody else said $15. A man in an expensive suit said, "My time is worth money. I'll give you $25. Get me out of this line right now." Now I knew I had a business. So I went home and I designed my first product ever, which were these. Created a kiosk. And if you've ever checked in at an airport on a kiosk, probably anywhere in the world, that was my first invention. And I created these kiosks so that people could check themselves into flights at airports. And pretty soon, airports all over the world were ordering these. So what was the simple lesson? I was standing there upset and complaining about a problem. I asked everybody I know if they have that problem. A lot of people did. Then I found out if people would pay me to fix that problem, and the answer was yes, so we created this company. And I'm not a person driven by money, but I want to tell you this so you understand what happens when you solve real problems in the world. 3 years after we built that company, we sold the company for more than $100 million. I wasn't focused on money. I was focused on solving a real problem. So the next thing I want to show you is probably one of the most important lessons I could ever teach you, which that is this. Don't chase money, chase excellence. Money follows excellence. Everybody's worried about trying to get rich, and what you really need to be worried about is doing something amazing in the world. When we created those kiosks, everybody in the world liked them. I still get today, people will be in an airport and they'll take a picture of themselves standing by the check-in kiosk in some airport, and they'll send me a text that just says, "Hey Jeff, thanks." When you do something amazing in the world, you'll get paid. You'll never have to worry about money. If you spend your time worrying about money, you're never going to get paid. So create excellence in the world, and all the rest will work out, but it won't until you do that. The next lesson I want to share with you is about, and I loved hearing more than one speaker talk about this today, it's about focus. So what I'm going to tell you is to win a gold medal at one thing. This picture is a friend of mine. His name is Michael Phelps. If you haven't heard of him, he's the Olympic swimmer that's won 29 medals in the Olympics. Michael Phelps did 26 of them were gold. Why do I have that picture up there? Because in order to win a gold medal at anything, do you know what Michael Phelps does not do? He does not come home, swim for 15 minutes, play basketball for 15 minutes, watch TV for 15 minutes, sleep for an hour. That's not what his day looks like. What he does is swim 6 hours a day, every day, because that's what it takes to win a gold medal. The same is true for you in business. Too many people that I see are trying to do too many things. They're launching too many products. They're trying to run 3 businesses. The most successful companies in the world, the ones that grew from small to big and became multi-billion-dollar companies, did that by becoming the gold medal winner at one thing. Sometimes people don't believe me, but in the early internet days, there were just a few of us starting internet companies, so we used to talk a lot. I talked to these 2 guys, Jeff and Pierre. They were creating something that's called eBay. I talked to this other Jeff a lot. He created this thing called Amazon. Okay, but you know what people forget? For 7 years, Amazon, Jeff only sold books. And you know what he would say to me? I want to be the best bookseller on the planet, right? Before I do anything else. You have to win some product category. You have to win a gold medal. And it was only 7 years later when he was the best bookseller on earth before he sold anything else. It's a discipline problem. I have another friend named Tony Shea. Tony has a company called Zappos. I don't know if you know it or not, but when he started the company, what he said was, I'm going to be the best shoe seller on the planet. And he focused on only one thing. In our case, all we did was sell hotel rooms. If you've used Booking or Agoda, that's 95% of the business. And people kept saying, you guys should sell luggage. You should sell travel insurance. You should sell vacation planning. But what we said was, we're going to win a gold medal at the one thing we can be best at, hotel rooms. Today, Booking.com, the company, is the world's largest seller of hotel rooms. In fact, the revenues will be about $20 billion a year worth of hotel sales, and the company really only sells one product, hotel rooms. So my question to you is, if you have more than one product or more than one idea, what is the one thing in the world that you can win a gold medal at? Because that's what you need to do. Sometimes when people ask me how to grow their company, I tell them first I have to shrink it and stop doing anything except the one thing you can be best at in your market. Win a gold medal at one thing. I want to share another thing with you. And this thing is called a brand asset. And let me explain it. This is really important. If you ever want to grow or build a big company, or especially a billion-dollar company, you need to find your brand asset. Your brand asset is this. It's the one thing about your product. When I look at your marketing materials for a lot of companies, what I see is you're trying to convince customers to buy your product by telling them all the great things about you. But the truth in the world is, people usually make a buying decision based on one really important thing that they liked about your product. So, the companies that grew fast were the ones that picked the one most important reason. So if I were to ask you that question, whatever you're selling, I'm going to ask you to tell me one and only one most important reason I should buy your product. That one reason is called your brand asset. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Walmart in the US, well, Walmart is the largest physical retail store in the world. They're the biggest retailer in the world. I don't think you have them here. But let me tell you something. Walmart stores, their advertising does not say, you'll love the quality of our products. Their advertising does not say, we have great service. Their advertising says only one thing, it's always the lowest price. Their brand asset is, our prices are lower than anybody else. And as a result, they became the world's largest bricks and mortar retailer, but they only sell one thing, price. They know what their business is. Here's an example on the other side. In the US and around Europe, there's a store called Nordstrom's. Nordstrom's will never tell you that their prices are good. In fact, one day I went in there to buy a sweater for my sister's birthday, and when they rang it up on the cash register, I said, I didn't come here to buy the store, I just want one sweater. And she said, well, you're at Nordstrom's, that's the price of the sweater. But you know what the difference is? There were 6 people helping me. There were people in the aisle that said, tell me about your sister and I'll help you find clothing. Okay? What they're selling is service, not price. So my question to you is, I'm going to say it again. If you could only tell me one reason I should do business with you, what's the one most important reason anybody should buy your product? That reason is called your brand asset, and you need to market that. That's how you develop a brand, is because you get known for the thing that you're best at. Pick the thing that you're best at and market that brand asset. Next, I want to tell you that stop trying to sell your product to everybody. When I ask entrepreneurs today, who will use your product? They always tell me everyone. But you know what? No one in this room has the marketing budget for everyone. So what you need to do is focus on your fans. What do I mean by fans? Well, we all know what that looks like in a football game. In a football game, there are people that paint themselves the color of their favorite team. And if it's cold outside, they stand outside in the freezing weather, half naked, painted the color of their team because they love their team. But here's the lesson. Every business has those too. Every business has fans. So here's what I want you to do. When you are selling your product, and there are people that you're trying to convince, please buy my product, and you're talking to them for a long time, that's one customer. Then you go to the next person and you say, let me tell you about my product, and as soon as you start telling you, they say, oh my gosh, where have you been my whole life? I'll take your product. I've been looking all over for something like this. When you find somebody that says, I love your product and I've been looking all over for something like this. Since I've been here, I've had, in fact, last night at dinner, somebody told me that she's a huge customer of Priceline of booking of Agoda and Ubit. She's used every one of our products. When you find, I want you to think about somebody that, if you already have business, somebody that loves you. And I want you to think about somebody that it was really easy to sell to. And then what I want you to do is start building a profile of those people. The people that love you, what about them is similar? You may start to, I'm going to make this up. You may start to find out that women really love your product. And women that live, I'm making this up, women that live in the city. And women that live in the city and listen to a certain kind of music. And women that live in the city and listen to a certain kind of music and grew up on a farm maybe. What you'll figure out is there is a profile of the person that absolutely loves you and loves your product. And what you have to do is fine-tune your marketing so that you're focusing on your fans to sell your product. Don't try to sell it to everybody. We realized early on, we thought business people would use our product. We thought all these different groups would use our product. But you know who loved us? College students. So you know what we did? We changed all our marketing. Instead of broadcasting, it's something called narrowcasting. Focus very much on the people that love you by profiling them and studying them so that next time you meet somebody, I should be able to say, I don't think he's going to buy my product and I know she is, just by asking them a few questions about who they are as a person. That's called finding your fans. Instead of convincing people to buy your product, go find the people that are already looking for you. By the way that you know if your business is going to be successful is you should, if you are trying to talk people into buying your product, that's one thing. But you want to have a product where people keep calling you and they're taking out money and they're saying, are you finished yet? I want to buy your product. So I want you to be honest with yourself if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner. Are you spending your time in sales trying to talk people into buying your product? Or are people calling you and saying, please take my money, I want to pay for it? If it's not the second one, maybe you should start a different business. When we built those kiosks, airports kept calling me and saying, where are the kiosks? Here's our money, please deliver a kiosk. You want to be solving a problem with a product that everybody is trying to buy from you. If you're honest with yourself, and that's not the case, maybe it's a different business that you should be in. Next, how do you find these people? Because I always tell people that they should be selling their product to the people that love them. And the question is, how do you find those narrow focused people that love your product? And I'm going to tell you the answer. The answer is you don't find them in your office. They're not coming to you. So I want to tell you a quick story of how I learned this lesson. And I learned this lesson about living a day in the life of your customer and getting out of your office, but let me share that. So what happened was I was meeting with an older gentleman who was in the retail business. He had stores, and his stores were very successful, but he built stores that all the experts said, this will never work, don't do it. And all the smart people said, this is a bad idea, but he did it anyway, and it worked. So we were spending the day together, and I said to this man, how did you know this was going to work if all the experts said it was a bad idea? And I said, who told you this would work? And he said, a farmer wearing a farmer's hat, a tractor hat, told me that. And I said, that's very interesting. Tell me the story. And he said, Jeff, these are the people that work for me in my office. A lot of them have a university degree. They know things like finance. They know what a supply chain is. And I said, that doesn't sound like a problem. That sounds good. What's the problem? And he said, the problem is my customers look like that. My customers are farmers, and they live across town, and they're wearing a farmer hat, and they're wearing work boots, and they're dressed completely differently. And he said, the problem is my employees don't live, they live here in the city. They don't live on a farm. And so the employees that are building your product, your team, these people don't live in the same neighborhood as these people. These people don't eat at the same restaurants as these people do. Their kids don't go to the same school. They don't live in the same area. So I said to him, what did you do? And he said, that's easy. I bought a farmer hat and some work boots. And he said to me, every other Friday, I would get up and I would change into farmer clothes. And I would leave the city. And I would drive out to the farm. And there was a little cafe where the farmers would sit in the morning. And he said, I would spend all Friday sitting with the farmers, dressed like a farmer, in the coffee shop, buying coffee for farmers and talking all day. He said, by spending my Fridays with farmers, dressed like them, and just buying them coffee, I learned what farmers needed, and that's how I built my store. His store, by the way, was the man I was with, I should tell you, was the person I mentioned. His name is Sam Walton. He built Walmart, which became a multi-billion-dollar store, but he built it by buying pastries and coffee for farmers. So you know what I do now with my companies that I want you to do? Every other Friday, when I'm building a company, I change clothes, I leave my office, and I go spend the whole day with my customers. If your customers are farmers, you should be spending every other Friday on a farm. If you're building a product for schools and teachers, you should be spending every other Friday in a school with teachers. Get out of your office. Spend a day in the life of your customer so that you can see how they live, so that you can listen to them, so that you can create what they need. The answer is not in your office. The more time you spend out of it, the better. I'll show you one interesting thing that we do now. I don't want my employees to ever forget who the customer is. And we can't be out in the farm every single day. So now we make these cutouts. We take photos of our customer and we make a cutout and we put the customer in the office. There's one of those in my office and there's one of those in our conference room. And one of our companies, our product was for stay-at-home mothers. So we made one of those and we called her Jane. And it's in my office. And my employees walk in and they say, hey boss, I have a business idea. And I say, well, don't tell me, tell it to Jane. And when I point at Jane, a lot of times they say, she's a housewife, she's not gonna understand this. And I say, then I don't even care, I don't even wanna hear it. So you know what they do now? I can see them. They come into my, have I been talking so long that it's night? Is that why it got darker? It's suddenly night. I thank you guys for staying this long. They walk into my office and they're looking at an idea and they look over at the customer, the picture of the customer, and they just leave without saying anything. It's not about you. It's entirely about them. So make sure the feeling of your customer is there every day and spend time out of your office to go find those people. I want to tell you probably just two last things. Here is the next one, is to market to intent, not activity. Let me explain this, and let me explain what activity means. So years ago, when we were doing the music tour, and I was on a tour with Justin Timberlake and the NSYNC band, and we stopped in Times Square, New York, at the time it was the world's biggest music seller, the world's biggest music distributor. And we were in the music store. This is a while ago. And I started thinking something that I want you to think. I want you to ask yourself this question. Why does anybody do business with you? What do they come to your company for? Why are they here? So I asked, since NSYNC, this band at the time, happened to be the biggest band in the whole world, the owners of the world's biggest music company, they flew into New York City from London to be with us. So I had the owners of the world's biggest music store. And I said to them, why do people do business with you? I want you to ask yourself that, your employees that. And he said, well, I said, why did they come here? He said, they come here to buy CDs. And I said, wow, no one wants a CD. And he said, Jeff, look in the store. Everybody wants a CD. They're all lined up buying CDs. And I said, that's interesting because no one wants to buy a CD. And he looked at me like, now it's the next day, I guess. He looked at me like I was stupid. And he said, do you want to know how many million CDs a year we sell? I said, interesting, because no one wants to buy a CD. And he said, I don't understand. I said, nobody wakes up in the morning and says to themselves, wow, I want to go to the store and buy a round piece of plastic with a hole in the middle. No one wants a CD. And the owner of the business said to me, I don't understand, Jeff, what do they want? And I said, when the customer wakes up in the morning, all they're thinking is, I want to hear that song now. What they want to hear is a song. What they have to do is buy a CD to hear it. And he said, what's the difference between what they want to do? The intent is, I just want to hear that song. The activity is, I have to buy a CD. So when I asked him, what do you sell? He said, CDs, but no one wants one. He said, what's the difference? He looked at me like I was stupid. You want to know the difference? The music industry worldwide did not invent the iPod. The music industry did not invent electronic music. You know what happened in the music industry? We stopped buying CDs. They lost billions of dollars. Every music store went out of business. They laid off thousands of people. And do you want to know why? Because they were marketing to intent, not activity. Let me ask you this. If you thought that your job was to get a song into my ear as fast as I can, you would probably run your business different than if you thought your job was just to sell CDs. So let me ask you the same question in your business. I went back to my office and I asked my employees, and I want you to do this. I said, why do people come to us? And the employees said, oh, they come here to buy airline tickets at the time. We sell airline tickets. I said, uh-oh, big problem. And they said, why is this a problem? And I said, because nobody wants to buy an airline ticket. And my employees said, Jeff, are you crazy? Do you know how many airline tickets we're selling? And I said, but no one wants one. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, no one wakes up in the morning and says, I can't wait to go through long lines in security, to get on an airplane, to sit in little seats behind that guy, to get no food or bad food. No one actually wants to go to the airport and go on a plane. And my employees said, well, then what do they want? I said, all they really wanted to do was go to their sister's wedding. The intent is, I want to go to my sister's wedding. The activity is, I have to buy an airline ticket to do that. So you know what we did? We changed our marketing. And our marketing says, we know you want to go to your sister's wedding, and we're going to get you there for a lot less money. When we did that, guess what happened? People said, wow, I really do want to go to my sister's wedding, my cousin's graduation, my family's vacation in Thailand. Nobody wakes up wishing they could go to the airport. They wake up wishing they could go on vacation. So now we sell the ease of the vacation. So I just want you to think about that. What is the intent of your customer, not the activity? Stop selling airline tickets. Start selling amazing family memories, okay? Stop selling CDs. Start selling the song in my ear as quickly as we can. One last one I want to cover with you guys. You can't do this alone. No matter how smart you are, you will not succeed without a team. And so this is the mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make, is that they get blinded by their own brilliance, especially if it's going well. And they say, wow, I'm doing really well. But the truth is, every one of us is only good at one thing. In fact, I'm an engineer. And one day, I thought I was a good engineer. And one day, because I have a software degree, I was writing software with my own employees. And my employees were all looking at me. And I said, what's wrong? And they said, yeah, Jeff, we're going to need you to back away from the computer. And I said, why? Is something wrong? And they said, yes, you. I said, what's wrong? They said, you're the worst developer in the company. And I said, okay, but I own the company. And they said, you're still the worst developer here. And I said, but I have the same degree as you. And they said, and somehow all of us are really good at product design and you're not. And they said, why don't you let the best people do it and you do something else? So I thought I was an engineer, but I went into marketing. And I started doing the marketing for the company. And one day somebody said to me, are you the CEO? Are you the boss of the company? I said, yes. And I don't really know finance, guys. I'm an engineer. And he said, do you understand finance? I said, not really. And he said, if you're the CEO, you better learn every discipline. You better learn finance. So I went to the store, a bookstore, and I bought a book. And the book was called Finance for Dummies. Finance for people who don't know finance. And I went home and I was all excited. And I opened the book and I said, I'm going to learn finance. And as soon as I looked at the book, I realized this is one of the stupidest things I've ever done. What am I going to do next? Am I going to get a book called How to Be a Dentist? I'm going to start fixing people's teeth? No, I'm never going to do that. I'm going to go to a dentist because that's what they do. So I'm the marketing guy. I'm not going to learn finance. I'm never going to be the expert. So you know what the lesson is? Find people smarter than you in every area that is not your expertise. I went out and found an amazing finance person. I do the marketing. It doesn't matter that you own the company. You are not smarter. You are not as smart as you think you are. I went out and found people smarter than me in finance, in sales, in operations, in product development. In every area, I'm only good at one thing, but guess what? So are you. So be honest with yourself. What is the one thing you're really good at? It doesn't matter if you're the CEO. And the key to success is to surround yourself with people smarter than you in every other area. One day early on in our company, I was walking along and I was looking at our people and I said, if the whole industry changed tomorrow, we would still make $1 billion company because I have all the best people right here in this business. And you know what that means? Oop, I need the slide back, please. The scarcest resource in the world is not money, people, it's human talent. The most important asset we have is talent. Entrepreneurs, especially when I do like television, they always say, what's the one thing companies need to grow the most? And everybody says funding. It's not funding, guys, it's talent. Focus more on finding the best people than you do on finding money. You know why? If I give a bunch of money to average people, nothing happens. They call me a year later and they say, Jeff, we need more money, it's gone. But you know what? A lot of money to average people goes nowhere. But a small amount of money to amazing rock star people, innovators, they do incredible things when you give a little bit of money to really innovative people. So focus on talent. And that's part of why I'm so proud that you guys are doing this Entrepreneurship 4.0, and you have your whole ecosystem here, including the state councilor, the ministers, everybody that came to talk about the importance of retaining your most talented people here in Myanmar. We don't want our talent to leave. We want them to stay here in the country, and we want to bring more people here in the country. Talent is the key. If you want the next multi-billion-dollar companies to come from right here in Myanmar, what you need to do is take care of your talent. And everybody here that's building a company, you should not leave this room today without talking to more people. You should be introducing yourself to all the people you don't know, because those might just be the people smarter than you that can do the things you can't. They're going to make your team the team that takes your company global and makes it $1 billion company. Now, before I do the last part, can you show me the time? Because what I want to do is a few questions. What time do we have left? Pardon? Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop there. I'm just going to summarize for you guys again those things that we said. We said to focus on your gold medal talent, right? We said to get out of your office and go live a day in the life of your customer. We talked about finding your brand asset. What is the one thing that distinguishes your company? We talked about building a team around you. These are the steps. It sounds simple, but it's the thing that nobody does. If you guys can start doing that list of things, surrounding yourself with smart people, finding fans that love your business, focusing more narrowly on what you do, that's the secret formula for taking a small company and making it into $1 billion company. Thank you guys so much for having me here today.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please remain on stage as we